if you ask me her apology she had today, initially, it was, yeah, I did it and I'll do it again apology.
We were both abusive, mentally, verbally, physically, everything. And if I'm going to be on this and keeping it real, as we've been abusive to most of this relationship.
I didn't him, I didn't do anything wrong, but the fact that you guys are doing this to me and he's the man in this situation, I'm gonna comply. I am. I'm not gonna argue with you at all. But you had me on camera, but at the same time, what he has on camera.
So Corey Holcomb didn't just say Sha'Carri Richardson was messy. He went straight for her credibility on his podcast in front of thousands of listeners. Corey exposed the one thing Sha had been clinging to. The story that she was the victim in her relationship with Christian Coleman. But the way Corey did it was different. He didn't just throw shade like other comedians do. He flat out accused her of lying about being in a domestic violence situation and then pulled out receipts that completely flipped the narrative. Now, the entire internet is locked in, asking the same question. If Corey's right, how long has Sha'Carri been lying about being the victim?
Here is something that I see too often, where you try and get the male that's with you in trouble with the authorities because you know most of the time you have leverage over the male when you say something's wrong. I don't like...
Because Sha's not just dealing with backlash from the internet, she's furious. She's raging that someone as loud and unfiltered as Corey Holcomb has put her on blast. And once Corey starts talking, you know he's not taking it back. But before we get into the meltdown Sha's having right now, let's rewind for a second. Because this entire story only makes sense when you see how long she's been playing the victim card, and how brutally Corey's exposure tore through that facade. The trigger moment didn't even come from Sha herself. It started when Corey Holcomb went live on his show and said what many fans had been whispering for months. Corey looked straight into the camera, sighed, and said, "Sha'Carri is dead wrong for trying to land Christian in jail, despite being the one who put hands on him, because she knows that in this kind of situation, she has leverage over him."
Toxicness gets physical because there were claims that she was being abused. But the last conversation that you and I had, you also said that it was on both ends.
Yes, we were both abusive, mentally, verbally, physically, everything. And if I'm going to be on this and keeping it real, as we've been abusive to most of this relationship, and other people, there's people who've seen that, people who know that, you know, and we still honestly come and go, toxic, push and pull, and still get over the up.
That one line set social media on fire. Up until then, Sha'Carri had been trying to salvage her image by painting herself as the one who got hurt, the one who deserved sympathy. But Corey wasn't having it. He didn't just call her out for lying. He exposed the manipulation, the pattern, and the way she weaponized sympathy to dodge consequences. And when Corey calls you a liar, it sticks. That's when Sha completely lost it. She started raging online, firing shots at Corey, threatening legal action, and trying to drag him for being insensitive. But here's the thing. Corey wasn't making anything up. He was pointing at the same footage everyone else had already seen. See, Sha's lie didn't come out of nowhere. The signs had been there long before Corey called her out. Let's rewind to when Sha and Christian Coleman first got together. On the surface, they looked like the perfect sports power duo. Flashy, confident Sha'Carri and quiet, disciplined Christian. People called them track and field's it couple. But behind the cameras, the cracks were showing. Christian's family noticed it first. They saw how Sha'Carri controlled the relationship, Christian canceling family dinners because she needed him, or avoiding phone calls because she was always around. Even his teammates whispered about it. The red flags were there in Christian's behavior too. Every time someone criticized Sha'Carri, he jumped to defend her like his life depended on it. Not out of love, out of fear. And Corey's accusation that Sha'Carri lied about a domestic violence situation isn't just some random smear. It fits a pattern she's been running for years. Take her past with ex-girlfriend Janique Brown. Janique opened up about it in an interview with podcaster Karine Boyings, and you could tell she wasn't there to chase sympathy or point fingers. She just wanted the truth out. According to Janique, their relationship was mentally, verbally, and physically abusive on both sides. But the way Janique reacted when asked if she'd ever go back said it all. She flinched before answering, then called the relationship a painful lesson she was grateful to have escaped.
Hear me, right? So this is the position that Christian Coleman puts me into, okay? Because he's a coward, and I don't want anything to do with him at this point going forward. My name is ShaCarri Richardson. Have no problem with letting you know who I am. Haven't put my hands on him. We had an argument. I will be honest about that. An argument, and that's pretty much it. The argument pretty much.
Now, in case anyone was wondering, Janique didn't just wake up one day and decide to air out her relationship drama with Sha'Carri. She spoke up in response to Sha'Carri's Instagram stories, where Sha'Carri basically pinned the entire breakup on Janique and made her look like a crazy ex. The post read, "I was in a relationship with a Jamaican athlete that never cared about me from the jump. I was abused and stolen from, yet I protected her from the judgment of her country and family while they dragged me. I had to deal with homophobia and so much more that I'm still healing from." Sha'Carri's attempt to play the victim card worked perfectly. Janique got canceled almost immediately after that post went up, until she was finally forced to come out and share her side of the story. Even then, she still tried to protect Sha'Carri, calling her post damage control. Keep in mind, this was after Janique revealed that Sha'Carri had threatened her and even worked with certain people to ruin her reputation. And as she spoke about it, you could hear the tremble in her voice, like she was reliving a nightmare. That's why Corey's call-out hit so hard, because he wasn't creating a new story, he was exposing a pattern. A pattern that started with Janique, bled into Christian, and proved that Sha'Carri has been flipping the victim narrative for years. So when the airport footage with Christian Coleman leaked, nobody was shocked. Well, except Sha'Carri, who immediately tried to spin it. But here's the thing. The footage didn't lie. Sha'Carri was the aggressor. Over and over, we see her shoving Christian, hitting him, even as he tried to walk away. Watch closely. Christian's body language tells the entire story. He doesn't flinch like this is new. He freezes, head down, shoulders hunched, like a man used to this. That one clip destroyed Sha'Carri's narrative, but instead of owning up to it, she doubled down. When police showed up, she switched into full victim mode. First, she tried to brush it off as a regular couples fight. Then, when she realized she was the one getting arrested, she turned on Christian, calling him a coward, accusing him of setting her up, and even claiming he put hands on her.
24.
Already? Oh my goodness.
He is doing something to help himself now because he know I was finna be through with him. Because he had a girlfriend, his mother told me that girl likes to fight him. And I told him, hey man, let me tell you something about a girl who likes to fight. You're the one that's going to get in trouble.
That's the lie Corey Holcomb exposed. He said Sha'Carri knew exactly how the system worked, and she planned to take full advantage of it, even if it meant Christian lost everything in the process. Corey didn't stop there. He even shared a personal story about his own son, how he once warned him to stay away from women with a violent streak like Sha'Carri's, but his son didn't listen. And in the end, he got caught up in a domestic violence charge and was sent to a rehab program, while the woman who set him up walked away completely free.
Like, I don't feel as if, like, she should have been arrested. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, you know, people have discussions and emotions and stuff like that. And she have, like, things that she needs to work on for herself, of course. And so do I, so do you, like, everybody. And I'm the type of guy, like, I'm in the business of just, like, extending grace and mercy and love. And, I feel as if, like...
Fans were hanging on to every word that came out of Corey's mouth because he didn't just call Sha'Carri a liar. He broke down exactly how she twisted the story and why the world needed to stop protecting her. The comment sections exploded, with reactions like, "Had no idea Sha'Carri Richardson was like that, but I'm not surprised." Sha'Carri Richardson is an abuser, but not a peep from her sponsors or the Olympic Committee. Interesting. But then came the real shocker, Christian himself. Instead of standing up for himself, he defended Sha'Carri. In an interview, he said she needed grace and help, not punishment. He looked broken, his tone flat, his expression distant, almost like he was reading from a script someone forced into his hands.
A lot of self-reflection, a lot of understanding of not only putting myself in a compromised situation with somebody that I have a deep care and appreciation.
Fans caught it immediately. Christian could barely make eye contact. His words felt scripted and his body language screamed fear. Corey replayed that clip too, pointing out how Sha'Carri had manipulated him into defending her. And that's when Sha'Carri completely lost it, because Corey wasn't just criticizing her, he was tearing down the entire fake image she'd built for years. Sha'Carri couldn't take the heat. First, she dropped an apology video, just 1 minute long, smiling through the whole thing like it was some kind of joke. She claimed she was reflecting and taking accountability, but the vibe was all wrong. It didn't look like remorse. It looked like a performance.
Hear me, right? So this is the position that Christian told me to put me into, okay? Because he's a coward, and I don't want anything to do with him at this point going forward. My name is Sha'Carri Richardson. Have no problem with letting you know who I am. Haven't put my hands on him. We had an argument. I will be honest about that. An argument, and that's pretty much it. The argument pretty much...
Corey tore that apart too. He mocked her on air, saying, "That ain't no apology. That's somebody laughing at y'all while she gets away with it." Fans agreed instantly, flooding Twitter with posts like, "Her apology video didn't have an ounce of remorse. Sickening. This is manipulation 101. He needs to get away from her before he ends up unalived." Then Sha'Carri tried again, posting a long Instagram story directed at Christian. "My apologies should be just as loud as my actions. Honestly, louder. To Christian, I love you, and I am so sorry." But by then, nobody was buying it. The comments were brutal. Some people straight up called her out on her BS, while others demanded she be removed from the league. She's apologizing for the video, not the actions. But I digress. God forgives too. Sha'Carri Richardson is an abuser, but not a peep from her sponsors or the Olympic Committee. Interesting. And Corey kept the pressure on. He reposted those fan reactions, highlighting how Sha'Carri's carefully crafted image was starting to crumble. Meanwhile, fellow athletes, even some of Christian's close friends and family, began siding with him. They were tired of Sha'Carri's manipulation tactics and started sharing cryptic posts like, "No matter how good you think it is, there's always better. Choose yourself." That's when the fallout hit Sha'Carri the hardest. Not only was Corey dismantling her story publicly, but the people closest to Christian were turning against her too. Sha'Carri started spiraling, ranting in private, raging at friends, threatening lawsuits against Corey, and even claiming the world was conspiring to ruin her. But the louder she got, the more obvious it became that she was losing. And then, everything collapsed. Christian went silent. He vanished online, and no posts, no statements, no defense, nothing. The last anyone saw of him was catching a flight overseas. And the silence since then? It says everything.